Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 82nd part of What If Deku Had a Robot Wolf. I hope you enjoy. Link to the original story and author in the description. Chapter 82, The Power of the Mind. Achiko collapsed onto the floor of Gym Beta, panting. With her fell several objects that she had been holding up with her telekinesis. That was good, Fifi said with a smile, currently wearing her hunter skin. That was twice as many objects as last time. You are getting stronger. I should be stronger, Achiko said with a frown. A lot stronger. Don't force yourself, Achiko, Fifi said. It's unfortunate that you missed out on over a decade of training, but give it time, and you will be stronger. Just take it slowly. This is the power of the mind you're using here. You can easily blow your own brains out if you're not careful. Achiko nodded, remembering what happened back in the forest against that heretic. The power she unleashed was great, but she almost killed herself with it. She needed to get better at controlling it, so that next time she's ready to protect those closest to her against another telepath like her. Don't worry, I'll take it slow. Fifi smiled as she patted Achiko on the back. Good. Now then, let's try that again. This time don't force the objects to float. Pick them up one by one like you would pick up any other object, just with your mind. Achiko nodded before she stood up and tried again. She looked at one of the objects and reached out towards it with her mind. Slowly the object lifted up off the ground, stopping when it was level with her head. She then focused on another object and lifted that one up as well whilst keeping the other object afloat. She did this again and again, lifting each object up one at a time and keeping them afloat. Fifi smiled. Great, you're doing good. Now, lifting something with your mind is one thing. Keeping them all afloat whilst focusing on other things, now that is a challenge, especially when you're distracted, she said before she got out a balloon and popped it right next to her. Achiko yelped and dropped everything she was holding up. What was that for? To distract you, Fifi replied. You won't have to worry about this now, but sooner or later you will have to use your powers in a combat situation. Which isn't easy, let me tell you. You'll get the hang of it one day, but until then, try not to use your telekinesis in combat unless in conjunction with your quirk. Achiko nodded. I'll try, but I just don't know why I'm not allowed to use it in addition to my quirk while training. Because you won't get stronger if you do that, Fifi said. If you remove someone or something's gravity, it's easy to move around. But your powers won't get stronger because of it. Pushing your limits and practicing regularly is the only way to get stronger. You'll lose it if you don't use it. Don't want to end up like the Republic variant. They're the variant that completely lost their powers, right? Achiko said. Fifi nodded. The Nisish variant, often called the Republic variant or pubs, are the survivors of the old Republic and are the largest variant out there. They stopped bothering to try and train their powers, citing that they were the reason for their empire's fall. 2,500 years later, they started meeting the other variants and regretted their decision to let their psychic powers atrophy to the point they couldn't use them anymore. They can't even breed with the other variants to try and reintroduce the ability into their gene pool. Needless to say, no member of the Nisish variant has ever developed psychic powers. They are like pre-quirk humans now, desperate to regain a power they long ago threw away. Anyway, back to training, she said as she patted Achiko on the back. Achiko nodded before she went back to training her telekinesis. Lifting up the various objects around her and keeping them up one by one. Fifi made no attempt to distract her again. Achiko needed to focus on improving her non-quirk powers. She had been neglecting her telepathy and telekinesis for too long, and it was her job to ensure that she improved and learned how to control them, lest she accidentally kill herself. Still, she shouldn't have to be doing this in the first place. Achiko should have been trained. How did the Imperium mess up this badly? Her brother rescued her after her parents were killed by that Titan robot. And yet, they lost track of her and presumed that she was dead. Who the fuck was in charge of the hybrid protection program? Was it that dumbass prefect? It was the dumbass prefect, wasn't it? She knew that Moron was trouble the moment she laid eyes on him. Dylar Semitics were less than trustworthy at times. Less than stellar telekinesis, but decent telepathic ability. They were drawn to power, and unfortunately, it was rare to find an honest Dylar, with most members of that particular variant being either chronic liars or benders of the truth. She wouldn't be surprised if the prefect was working for the syndicate somehow. Well, if he was, she was sure her brother was dealing with it. That man had a knack for rooting out corruption and trying to get into the pants of some of the most dangerous females in the galaxy. It was like that man enjoyed getting his arse handed to him by hot females. Paltheus, Milla, that red-haired vampire woman he encountered on Arcara 4. It was easier to list the names of females he hadn't fought. And no, she was not on that list. She and Sarada had crossed blades a few times before. She lost most of the time, but she made him work for those victories. They may be siblings, but there was no way she was going to go easy on her brother. "Oh yes, I wanted to give you this," she said as she passed Achiko a metal bracelet. "What is this?" Achiko asked before she felt something, a psychic link between her and the bracelet. "A dust projector." Fifi nodded before black dust formed around her hand and turned into a gun. "Yep. Figured that I should give you one. Dust weapons are a combination of nanite and psychic technology. We use our minds to turn the nanites into whatever weapon we wish. Guns, swords, you can think it, the dust projector will make it for you, and return to dust once you're done with it. Pretty neat, don't you think?" "Yeah," Achiko said as she looked at the bracelet. Black dust then came out of it and formed a sword hilt in her hand. "Ah, a psionic blade. The most common of close-range weapons," Fifi said as Achiko's blade ignited into a pink blade with crossguard. "Now, don't mistake that for a lightsaber, because that is no elegant weapon. It is inelegant and bloody. Unlike the pointed sticks that they became during the Disney era, psionic blades and psionic weapons are lethal. Stab someone with that and they are dead, end of story. Their body will superheat and explode into a bloody mess. Do not use such a weapon against someone else or yourself unless you really want the guy you're facing dead." Achiko nodded frantically before she disengaged the blade and returned it to dust. This wasn't a weapon for heroics, it was a weapon of war. Bloody, horrifying war. Your hero, Achiko. Not a soldier. Remember that. She was only going to use this unless it was absolutely necessary. Or against robots. Also, she should keep it away from May. The last thing she needs is for the crazy inventor to find a way to use psionic weapons or dust tech. "But, why give it to me?" Achiko asked. "Just in case," Fifi replied. "When up against another Semitic, hand-to-hand combat is really the only way to fight. Guns don't really work against some of us due to our telekinetic ability. We can just stop bullets before they hit us. Close-range combat is the only real way to go. That dust projector is to be used just in case you fight another Semitic or a heretic." Achiko nodded before she made sure the DP was turned off. Didn't want to accidentally activate it now, did she? Achiko made some progress during their hour-long training session, but it'll be a long time before she is really ready to use her psychic powers in combat. As she left the gym after getting changed, she suddenly remembered about the date she had planned with Izumi tomorrow. She did not have the funds to do anything big. She just hoped Izumi would understand. She walked for a bit before she came to a complete stop, noticing a small circular piece of metal on the floor. "Oh, a penny," she said as she picked it up with her telekinesis. She looked at it, noticing that it was a 50-yen coin, shrugged, put it in her pocket, and carried on her way. She walked for a bit before she came to a complete stop, noticing a small circular piece of metal on the floor. "Oh, a penny," she said as she picked it up with her telekinesis. She looked at it, noticing that it was a 50-yen coin, shrugged, put it in her pocket, and carried on her way. She walked for a bit before she came to a complete stop, noticing a small circular piece of metal on the floor. "Oh, a penny," she said as she picked it up with her telekinesis. She looked at it, noticing that it was a 50-yen coin, shrugged, put it in her pocket, and carried on her way. She walked for a bit before she came to a complete stop, noticing a small circular piece of metal on the floor. "Oh, a penny," she said as she picked it up with her telekinesis. She looked at it, noticing that it was a 50-yen coin, shrugged, put it in her pocket, and carried on her way. Meanwhile, watching from inside the school, Momo watched as her classmate picked up every penny that had been dropped on the floor. She had noticed that her friend had a habit of picking up every piece of loose change she saw left abandoned on the floor, and the vice representative was using this to her advantage in helping her friend's financial situation. She was honestly surprised that she hadn't noticed that so much loose change on the floor was suspicious. Hell, she would have noticed something was going on if she found that much loose change on the floor. But Achiko didn't seem to notice. "Oh, a penny," Achiko said as she picked it up with her telekinesis. She looked at it, noticing that it was a 50-yen coin, shrugged, put it in her pocket, and carried on her way. Momo smirked before she went on with her day, happy that her friend was doing well. "Oh, a penny." Back at the 1A dorm, Toru had finally recovered enough to be able to gush about being visible. "Oh, this is so great." The once invisible girl beamed as she looked at herself in a mirror. She was finally able to see her face. She had long, messy, wavy chartreuse hair, with pink specs, bushy eyelashes, and big round eyes. With the pupils that were teal on the outside and yellow on the inside. Now she could not maintain this for long. She really had to concentrate to keep herself visible, so at the moment she could only keep it up for a few minutes at a time, but with practice, she might be able to keep it up for longer. "Of course it is," Nina said as she hugged Toru, finally able to see one of her besties. "This is the greatest thing to ever happen to you." "I mean, yeah, it's nice that I can see myself and be visible," Toru said. "But, the things I learned to acquire this power was not worth it. It feels like I sold my soul to an adorable devil bunny in exchange for arcane information." "Hey!" Izumi said, looking annoyed. "What?" Toru said. "You are an adorable bunny who possesses arcane information and randomly dumps it on people at the bargain price of our very souls." "She does have a point," Rikito remarked. "You do dump useful information on us that seems so simple, yet is so life-changing that it does feel like we've sold our very souls for it." "Man, if Izumi was a demon then she would be very successful, Himiko remarked. "She'd have made hundreds of deals for people's souls with her cuteness alone." Izumi sighed. "Why does everyone think she's adorable? What did she do to get this adorable rating?" "At least said arcane information helped you," Durandal said. Toru nodded. "Yep. I can finally see myself. Okay, so it's only for a little bit, but I can still do it," she said before her body slowly started to fade, and she became invisible once more. "Damn." "Hey, don't worry about it," Izumi said with a smile. "Give it time and I'm sure you'll be able to maintain it for longer, maybe even all day." Toru smiled, even though no one could currently see it. Being visible, being able to see herself for the first time, was the greatest thing to ever happen to her. "Oh, a penny." Everyone turned towards the door and saw Achiko by the door picking up a penny that had been dropped on the floor. "She won't accept money from others but will happily pick up dropped change on the floor," Mina whispered. "Maybe we should drop a penny or two to help her," Toru whispered back. "I know I can afford to lose a few pennies." Mina nodded as the two girls hatched a small plan. "Hey Achiko," Izumi said with a smile. "How did your training session with Fifi go?" "It went well," Achiko replied. "There's still a lot I need to learn. But now that I have someone teaching me these things personally, I'm making a lot of progress." "That's great," Izumi beamed. "You'll have those powers mastered in no time." "Your pockets seem a bit full," Durandal remarked. "Oh," Achiko said as she reached into her pocket and pulled out the loose change she had picked up, realizing now that she had picked up a good number of coins. "Oh wow, I must have picked up a lot today." "You should probably put those somewhere safe," Durandal said. "Yeah, probably should," Achiko replied before she quickly went off to to her room to deposit her haul. When she reached her room, she walked over to a jar that she had been using to store all the coins she had been picking up. The jar was now full. Achiko blinked. How much was in there? She poured it all out and started counting them. Once she finished, she recounted them and counted them again, just to be sure she was correct. She almost fainted. How much? She gasped as she looked at the number. How did she pick up that much loose change in 1 week? Okay. So she must either be really lucky, or someone was deliberately dropping coins for her to pick up. She shook her head. That was preposterous. Why would anyone deliberately drop money? Still, should she report this? This is a lot of money she picked up this week, and someone must have dropped it. Wait, was the money picked up over the past 2 weeks or months? She couldn't really tell. Maybe she was just overreacting. She had picked up a lot today. Maybe today's haul made her think that she had made most of this recently. She had had an easier time picking up dropped coins thanks to the telekinesis. She opted to go for the collected over 2 months, because there was no way she could fill the entire jar in a week. Which was true, she did not fill up a single jar full of coins. She filled up 2, the other one was hidden. Well, looks like she might be able to spoil Izumi a bit tomorrow. When Tamura first came up with the plan to extract about 200 brain-dead bodies, he thought he'd be able to do so without much trouble. He should have known better. It turns out the hospital that was holding them was guarded by several heroes. Seemed like someone didn't want someone messing about with them. Well, this was going to be a challenge. A welcome one at that. He hated easy mode, having things handed to him. It made achieving the end goal so much more satisfying when playing on a higher difficulty. He had several ideas on how to deal with this. Sneak in with Mr. Compress and compress all the bodies before leaving, the heroes never suspecting he was there. But there were also the CCTV cameras he would have to worry about, and he didn't want to risk them raising the alarm. So he would need to deal with the CCTV as well. Having the heroes distracted wouldn't hurt either, and Volcano had been dying to fight some heroes. So, whilst Volcano and Gust Boy were out causing trouble, causing the good heroes to leave the building to deal with them, Tamura and Mr. Compress were busy going about compressing every brain-dead person in the building, whilst Curator dealt with the cameras. Wow, for an organization that hates quirks, they had some seriously strong quirks among them, Tamura remarked as he looked at the list of brain-dead Humorize members who were here. Like, for real, it's like a smorgasbord here. Helical Scythe, Poison Dart, Iron Ball, Iron Club, Sword Kill, oh there's 2 of those. Must be twins. All these powerful quirks, in the hands of a bunch of people who hate quirks. Fools. We can make so much more use out of these than they could ever use. Looks like these people are showing signs of trigger overdose, Compress remarked. You're sure your doctor friend can use them? Positive, Tamura replied. As long as the quirk remains intact, they should be fine. I see, Compress said as he started compressing bodies. Why would he need so many? Let's just say if we are to change this rotten world, we will need an army, Tamura replied. The Nomu will be that army. But we need more of them. The first Nomu I had to kill because someone else took control of it, and the others were all throwaway units. Not really usable in an army. And unfortunately, we have too few truly strong Nomu. 12 truly strong Nomu. The rest are all just throwaways. And making more is slow going. And there are thousands of heroes across Japan. We may be able to kill a good number of them, but not all of them. I see, Compress said as he compressed another body. Well then, let us hope this provides us with a good amount of material. Maybe there are a few more bodies we can take in the morgue. Tamura almost face-bombed. The morgue, how could he forget about that? There are plenty of dead bodies in there. Dead bodies who no longer need to use their quirks. You keep compressing these guys, Tamura said. I'll go check the morgue, he said as he casually walked out of the room and headed downstairs. The morgue wasn't hard to find, just find the room that said morgue. Not that difficult to find. You'll have to be a fool with no sense of direction to be unable to find it. So, without much trouble, he opened the door to the morgue and walked inside. And saw several tall moth women devouring a very rotten corpse. Well, shit. Noting that the moth woman hadn't noticed him, he slowly dashed. The moth women all turned towards him. He slammed the door shut. He was not going to deal with fucking cannibal moth women today. Well, I didn't expect to see you again, an annoyingly familiar voice said. He turned towards the voice and saw Shinigami standing a few feet away from him. Don't worry about them, Shinigami said, gesturing towards the door. They're just eating the body of, well, someone who did disgusting things to kids. The people who run this hospital don't want his body in storage here, and his family want nothing to do with their son's remains. So I'm removing it for them. Tamura blinked. You're allowing people to eat evidence? It's not evidence, Shinigami replied. His case is already solved. However, the case involving the brain-dead Humorize members is still ongoing, and I can't let you leave here with them, she said as she took on a lazy fighting stance. Tamura smirked. Oh, I have been waiting for this, he said as he launched forwards, hand outstretched to grab Shinigami. He'd been wanting a proper fight with her ever since they first met on that water tower. He reached out to grab Shinigami, but just as he was about to grab her, she lazily leaned out of the way, letting him shoot past. The follow-up kick to the back, however, hurt. He stumbled back onto his feet and faced her again. You know, launching yourself at an opponent isn't a smart idea, Shinigami remarked. If you miss, you leave yourself wide open. Tamura snarled before he tried again, this time being a lot more careful with his grab attempts. Again, she lazily avoided each and every grab. His fingers only inches away from grabbing her each time. Her fighting style seemed lazy, like she wasn't putting much effort into her moves. She was just barely avoiding Tamura's hits. But when she struck back hard. Now he knew why she was putting so little energy into her moves. She was conserving her strength for the real hits. Well, fuck that. He lunged forward once more, grabbing her wrist. But at the same time, Shinigami grabbed his. All 5 of their fingers touched the other's wrist. Nothing. Both of them blinked in confusion. Neither of them was decaying or rotting, which was quite annoying as this had never worked before. Tamura looked down at his hand. It wasn't the one that had the debuff on it, that was the other hand. So then, why wasn't it working on her, and why wasn't her quirk working on him? It's like they were immune to the other's quirk. Huh, interesting, Shinigami remarked. Looks like we're immune to each other's quirks. I wonder why. She wondered before she looked down at an empty spot beside her. Shut up. Tamura blinked. Who was she talking to? It was just them in the corridor. Using this to his advantage, he broke free from Shinigami's grip and tried to punch her in the face. Once again, she lazily avoided the blow. But now he had a problem. If Shinigami was immune to his quirk, and vice versa, then they couldn't use them to kill each other. This annoyed him greatly, as he had no other means to kill someone. He never expected someone to be immune to his quirk. Well, looks like killing each other just got a lot harder, Tamura remarked. I can still kill you with this knife I found, Shinigami replied, holding up a knife. Ah. She had a backup weapon. Shit. Why didn't he have a backup weapon? Oh right, he'd just disintegrate it. Fuck. Maybe he needs to respec a bit. Put a few points into weapon skill and find a way to not disintegrate every weapon he held. If there were going to be people out there who were immune to his quirk, then he needed an alternative way to deal with them. Boss, Curator's voice spoke into his ear. Thank God they had their own comms system. I see that you're in trouble. Do you need assistance? No, I can deal with her myself, Tamura replied. Which wasn't exactly true, he was barely holding her back. But every minute he spent down here holding her back was one less minute spent harassing Mr. Compress.
Besides, he couldn't risk losing any of his elite units to Shinigami.
She was more than ready to kill any of them.
Noted, Curator said. But I recommend you finish down there quickly. More heroes are approaching Volcano's position. He'll be overrun soon.
I had to send Barehead over to them to help them keep the heroes at bay.
Damn it, Tamura cursed as he avoided several swings from Shinigami. This was not good. They were running out of time. Why did Shinigami have to be here? Compress, how close are you to finishing? He asked, still dodging Shinigami's knife. Man, this woman was persistent.
Almost done here, replied Compress.
Just 2 more rooms to go.
I'll try to speed up as much as I can.
Good.
Tamura said as he grabbed the knife.
Whilst Shinigami was immune to decay, her weapon was not.
Kurogiri, be ready to extract us the moment Compress finishes.
Not smart to announce your plans to the enemy, Shinigami remarked as she pulled out another knife. Tamura cursed. Damn rogues always carrying so many knives. Where do they even keep them? I'm done. Compress shouted several minutes later.
Just in time Tamura was starting to get tired.
Good, Tamura said.
Kurogdashi said before he slipped up, giving Shinigami a clear shot to cut his hand off. Thankfully it was his debuffed hand that had been cut off, so really, no significant loss there.
Kurogiri. Get us the fuck out of here now. Tamura demanded.
Instantly a black portal opened up beneath him and he fell inside. The portal closed before Shinigami could get close to it.
Shinigami sighed before she put her knife away. Yes, I know. That could have gone better. But doubt is still forming inside of him. He just needs the right push.
Meanwhile, at Kurogiri's bar, the LOV members who had gone on the mission were being deposited in the bar. Well, that went well, Mr. Compress remarked before he noticed Tamura was lying on the floor clutching the area where he should have had a hand.
Or not. Tamura. Cute Eye gasped. What happened? That bitch Shinigami cut my hand off. Tamura rasped as Kurogiri quickly went to work bandaging his arm. Don't worry, it was the one that was already debuffed. That's still bad. Cute Eye remarked. You've lost an entire hand.
But not my good one, Tamura remarked.
The hand I lost was debuffed, remember? There was a chance that my quirk wouldn't work in that hand. So I haven't really lost anything important.
Seriously, the therapist said deadpan.
You see this as a good thing?
Well, sort of, Tamura replied. I can have a prosthetic hand now. Besides, the loss of my hand was worth it.
Show them Compress.
Mr. Compress nodded before he put a bag full of marbles down on the bar counter.
187 compressed, brain-dead Humorize members.
Quirked Humorize members.
187 quirks, Tamura smirked. I'm sure you can make some use of them. Has Christmas come early this year? The therapist asked with glee. You have done well, Tamura, Sensei's voice said. Quite well.
Yes, the loss of your hand is unfortunate, but your haul more than makes up for it.
Do not worry, we will find a way to restore your lost hand.
But rest assured, I am proud of your achievement today.
Tamura smiled.
Thank you, Sensei, he said as Kurogiri finished bandaging his stump.
One more thing, Sensei said.
There may come a time when you require my direct aid to help you. I must, with great regret, inform you that, when such a time arrives, I may not be there to help you. But do not worry, I will send a substitute to aid you.
A substitute? Tamura asked.
Someone who can go toe-to-toe with All Might himself, but not a Nomu, Sensei said. I realize now that it will take more than just a Nomu to bring him down, and killing him through brute force will only make him a martyr. If we want the symbol of peace to truly die, we must break him first, cause the public to lose faith in him and see him for what he truly is. A mindless beast cannot achieve that. But you, combined with my substitute, will be able to finally bring an end to him, he explained. I would be there by your side if I could, but my last fight with All Might had left me greatly injured. It will be some time before I will be once again able to join you in combat. But, I am sure you will be able to make do without me for a while longer. I understand, Sensei, Tamura said. He didn't like the idea of this substitute, but if Sensei said that he was in no condition to fight, then he was inclined to believe him. 6 years ago Sensei went off to fight All Might. He never saw him again after that, only heard him over the TV. What had All Might done to him? Whatever it was, he was going to make the symbol of peace pay for what he did to Sensei. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 83. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.